Hello and welcome to the Success Secret podcast with your host Hussein Talib. I am excited to introduce you to a series of conversations with some of the most successful and inspiring individuals from various industries. My aim is to dive into the stories behind their success and explore the knowledge, strategies, habits, mindsets, and wisdom that have propelled their success. Each episode of the Success Secret podcast will feature a different guest who will share their unique journey, the challenges they faced, and the lessons they have learned along the way. I will also be covering topics from entrepreneurship and innovation to leadership and personal development. Whether you are an inspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business professional, or just someone looking to improve your life, the Success Secret podcast is for you. My goal is to bring you valuable insights and inspiration that will help you achieve your own success in business and life. So get ready to learn and be inspired. The Success Secret podcast starts now. In this episode, I have with me Pramoda Vyasarao. Talk about the 7-step blueprint to reaching any goal. Pramoda is the founder of Changesmith Coaching. He has a rich background in computer science and boasts over 2 decades of experience with tech giants like Oracle and Meta. With 17 years of coaching experience, he has significantly impacted thousands of individuals across 11 countries. He specializes in fostering personal growth for senior leaders through one-on-one coaching and cohort-based courses that focuses on communication, leadership, and storytelling. And he is also the author of the best-selling book, Beyond Your Limits. So, Pramoda, welcome to this episode of the Success Secret podcast.
Thank you, Hussein. I'm so glad to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Awesome to have you here with me. So, first of all, because this is the Success Secret podcast, and we have a great episode here, we're talking about the steps, blueprint to reaching any goal. And I think a lot of people talk about goals. Some people talk now about goals are not important, different systems. But I think eventually it comes down to what we call as goals. No matter how you look at it, they are goals. So it's not gonna have any whatever the name. It's the same thing. Eventually, the end means is a goal. So, but because this is the Success Secret podcast, I want to know throughout your experience working with other people and your career, how would you say or describe or define or you see what success is, and how do you see other people have certain misconceptions about what success is defined as?
One thing I've noticed, Hussein, is in my own personal career for about 21 years, we focus too much on extrinsic goals, meaning more money, a better job, better title, and so on. Very unlikely that we focus on intrinsic goals. I have seen in my own experience, the moment I found intrinsic goals, whether it is becoming more healthy, running a full marathon, writing a book, or creating my own courses, the moment I have intrinsic goals, my life on all of a sudden becomes more meaningful. And I will have more happiness in my life because I am now working on my intrinsic goals, the goals that I truly cherish. I have also seen this in my clients. They come to me for various reasons. They say, I want to get promoted at work. I want to become a better manager and so on. That's the original goal. But as we discuss, we realize that the passion is missing in the life because they are not looking at their intrinsic goals. Intrinsic goals can be as simple as losing extra weight, being a little more healthy, being kind to your friends, family, and coworkers, becoming a better speaker at work, confidently communicating in public. These are all minor things, but they have significant impact, but they impede your self-expression. When people don't express themselves fully, that is a challenge. They don't have a fulfilled life. They don't feel well achieved because of these creative ideas not being able to deploy in the right forums.
So that's very interesting. We're talking here about it's basically internal and external goals, right? So that's very important. It's a new kind of a distinction between when we talk about goals in general. Like sometimes our goals are related to external factors or have some kind of external elements, which is very important to look at and consider because sometimes this way we would know that how hard the goal is and how to reach it, maybe new ways to look at new things, new ways, new perspectives into things, and how to make things easier instead of harder for ourselves. And if it's internal, okay, that thing should be, I would say, maybe easier for us to reach that goal because everything is, I would say, in our control, in our in our own comfort zone, maybe. So this way it could be simpler for us to reach that goal, right?
Yes. One other distinction, Hussein, is intrinsic goals. You can think of an acronym called MAP. So intrinsic goals, the moment you have one of these three elements or all three, you know that they're intrinsic goals. M stands for mastery, in the sense you want to become really good at something for the sake of becoming good, not to prove to others, just to improve yourself as a human being. That is called mastery or the skill based goal. The second one is A in MAP is autonomy, where you want to feel independent. You want to express yourself independently. That's the A part, autonomy part. The last one is P in MAP called purpose. This is where we want to add value to other people through our existence. We all have this intrinsic desire to be more valuable to society and people around us. So people who have intrinsic goals, they automatically can map them to either one of these three elements or all these three elements, which is mastery, autonomy, and purpose.
Okay. So does these 3 points play a role in your, for example, if we are talking about a blueprint for reaching goals, the 7 steps, does these 3 elements are, I would say for sure, maybe integrated in the 7 steps of achieving any goal?
They are. Let me quickly read out the 7 steps and then you can ask me questions based on where you want to go. The 7 steps in my goal setting framework are: the first one is begin with the end in mind. Second one is become accountable to a coach or a community or a family member to achieve your goal. Number 3, define milestones for your goal. Number 4, take one day at a time, because you can only make progress one day at a time. Fifth one is bouncing back after a setback. There are invariably setbacks in our goal achievement process, so we have to come back to the path of goal and stick to that path. Number 6 is quit strategically. There are some goals that may not make sense after some time. So you and I have a choice to disengage and say, this is no longer a goal for me. I will stop pursuing this goal. Step number 7 is enjoy the journey. No matter what goal you pursue as a human being, our job is to enjoy the process. Not only look for the destination, but enjoy the process every moment while we walk toward that destination. So these are the 7 steps in my framework.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued about, like, you talked about milestones, I think step 3, and also you talked about when to quit, basically the goal. Like, I think these also maybe relate to each other. Because generally when I think about milestones, maybe I have a certain goal that I want to achieve, right? And when the milestones come, when the deadline comes, for example, if it is achieved, great. But if it's not, usually either you are feel lazy and you feel defeated and you want to set a new deadline, right? This is what happens with a lot of people, and I'm sure maybe you've seen that. Or some people who would say, maybe I would say maybe strong, they would say that's fine. I didn't set the deadline now, but I will have a new deadline. But when do we realize that this is something that in the steps, like you mentioned here, is something that is not worthy of uh, pursuing? So this kind of integration is very important, and also people need to understand that when we set this type of goals, we need to try to make it as much as possible, like to be in a place of, yes, this is something that we actually want, because we don't want to drive 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction, I would say, maybe, right? So do you see some kind of something there?
Yes, I will answer your both questions, one on defining milestones and then on quitting strategically. First, on defining milestones, I have seen time and again people have big goals. They want to achieve a lot in 1 year and they fail, they don't like it. What people underestimate is what they can achieve in 5 years. They overestimate what they can achieve in 12 months or 1 year, but we all tend to underestimate what we can achieve in 5 years. So defining milestones is such an important element of goal setting. If you look at running a marathon, which is 42 kilometers or 26 miles, you don't have to run a marathon directly. You can break into milestones. Can I run 5 kilometers at a stretch? Then 10, then 21, maybe 35, and then 42. These could be good milestones for you to check that you are ready for the next step. Milestones are extremely important. Otherwise, people set big goals, but they don't set good milestones to say, yes, I'm capable of achieving higher goals now. There is a distinction called stretch goal versus snap goal. Stretch goal meaning you're simply stretching beyond your comfort zone. Not too much, but slightly beyond your comfort zone. So you're stretching yourself for growth. When you snap yourself, which means you don't have the right mindset and milestone. For instance, if I've never run 5 kilometers in my life and I set a goal in next 1 month, I will run a full marathon. That is unrealistic. That is a snap goal, not a stretch goal. So distinction between snap and stretch is important. Then you come back to milestones and say what tiny milestones I can achieve to boost belief in myself toward the bigger goal later. That's important in the defined milestone section.
Yeah, exactly. So, speaking of snap goals, do you think that they are not good way to set these type of goals? We should have the not the snap goals, like because these kind of things, like we have a higher expectation for ourselves for these kind of things, like we are in stage A and we want to go directly to stage Z, for example, and it's a big step, it's a big leap, and we most probably, for example, even in the back of our head, in our mindset, that we are not going to achieve that. So maybe that could be a bad idea to set that type of goals. The step by step approach is better. A little bit out of our comfort zone is better because we wanna, let's say, expand this the place or the circle that we are in.
Yes, absolutely. What happens is when you set a big goal, you internally know you may not be able to achieve it. There is no belief that you will achieve. So the effort is also always calculated. It's like a half effort. Can I do it or can I not do it? And so on. That does not help. You can incrementally grow, whether it is weight training or running or writing a book. Incremental goals to say, I will achieve this milestone in the next 1 month. Once I achieve that, I'll set higher goals, maybe more stretchy goals. That is the approach to take, incremental approach, and slowly increasing the toughness of your goal.
Mm. Yeah, that's very important. Like, because we don't want to, let's say, maybe burn out too much too fast, right? The step by step approach, or taking it step by step easier, and not having this kind of like in our back of our mind that like you mentioned, like 50-50, a little bit, one step forward, two steps backwards. So this is not a good way to do things. Either you are all in and you are going all forward as much as you can, as fast as you can, and push forward, or you are going to maybe eventually burn out if you are not even it's not going to work like that. Like, you are going to waste time, energy, and as we are talking here about, could be in the wrong direction completely, and in a certain time you would realize that this is something you didn't want maybe in the first place. So that's very important.
Yeah. For your listeners, other distinction I would like to offer is there is something called as clock time versus horticulture time. Clock time meaning you can look at the calendar and say, okay, 7 days are over, 8 days are over, and so on. Whereas horticulture time is seasonal. It has to, it needs some months to go to next season. Like you plant a seed, it has to germinate and then start growing as a plant. It has a season, horticultural season. So we have to distinguish between clock time and horticulture time. Not all goals can run on clock time. Growth is important. Your growth as a person is important. That's why we have to treat our goals as a plant growing. Not only looking at the calendar, sometimes look at the growth. Are you ready for the next goal? That's a distinction I want your listeners to capture, the distinction between clock time versus horticulture time.
Yeah, that's very important. Like, if we go, like, we want to have, and let's say, I would say, maybe be in a flow, of a zone of flow, maybe that's very important, because it will get the ball rolling, like maybe the snowball or something. See, going down the hill, and it also can keep going up, maybe to a certain limit, but it could keep going up. So that's very important. So you, from your personal experience now, what are the, let's say, things, or especially, let's say, in your book, okay, the things or the goals that you have put out there, uh, how did you, let's say, plan them? Like, first of all, did you think to yourself, I want these type of goals that to be completely things that I haven't done? How did you see yourself in that personally?
Initially, I started my goal journey in 2003, October. When I started this journey, I had simple 5 goals. One is losing 33 pounds. I was overweight and obese. I wanted to lose weight to become fit and healthy. That was my goal number one. I was afraid of water. I wanted to learn swimming. That was goal number two. Number three was becoming a confident speaker. I was afraid of speaking in public. English was my third language, so I was uncomfortable speaking. I wanted to achieve that goal. Number four was learning a martial art. As a child, I had a fascination toward martial arts, looking at Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, but I never had the opportunity to learn martial art in my childhood. But as an adult, I thought, okay, I'm an adult now, I have time and money. Maybe I want to go back and learn martial art. So that was my goal number four. Goal number five was donating blood 50 times before I turned age 50. Because my family had some personal emergency and I know the need for blood. Back then in India, I went and donated blood a couple of times to my own relatives. I know the importance of blood. So I decided I'll add a goal to my life that in the next 30 years, I will donate at least 50 times. Now, these 5 goals were just to experiment the power of goal setting. Later, once I achieved these 5 goals, I added goals every year based on my interest. For example, I wanted to lose more weight. I started running. I ran a 10-kilometer race, then a 21 kilometers, then a 42 kilometers. Then the goal became, can I run a full marathon under 4 hours? I did that. Then I had other goals like doing a 10-day meditation course, 10-day silence meditation retreat program twice in my year. Then I said, okay, let me start a company of my own. And that became my goal. So each of these goals, if you look at the book, I list about 52 goals in the last 21 years. And I list only those goals that took significant time, effort, and intensity to achieve those goals. To answer your question, to sum up, the original 5 goals were based on my regret and fear and what I did not do in my life. The other goals, 47, became what do I really want in my life.
Okay, so you mentioned that English is your third language. So now the book that you wrote is actually in English, I think, right? So that's very important. So how did you see that being English is your third language, and we are speaking about goals? How did you see that goal of writing that book being completed or achieved?
I always believe if you look at my step number 2 in goal setting is becoming accountable, meaning you work with a coach or a mentor to help you achieve your goals. When I wrote the book, I had a good writing skills already. I worked in the industry for 21 years for big corporations. I worked on myself to improve my reading, speaking, and writing skill, but I did not have the skill for writing a book. I worked with a coach in the US called Dr. Eric Meisel. He wrote about 67 books. He's 77 right now. He teaches people how to write books. He's a creativity coach. I worked with him for about 9 months. We met twice every month to discuss my book idea, how I'm shaping my book, what chapters I'm writing. And I took an expert's help to write a book. In simple words, I know I always model success by looking at other people who are successful. I am completely fine asking help from some people, paying money for my coaching services. I took help from Eric Meisel to write my book.
So that's very important, like to see other people experiences and learn from them. So that's very important. So speaking of that, what are the best and the worst advices that you have ever heard and you regretted applying and you were great that you applied in regards with the best and worst advice?
Generally, I don't apply advice directly. I hear all the advice. I make my own decisions. Generally, I don't have any regrets because I keep testing all the advice. But I'll tell you the best advice I've got so far is when I published the book, one of my mentors said to me, you need to give away the audiobook for free. I said, why? He said, you don't know the power of audiobooks. People love audiobooks these days. They may buy the book, some may not read the book. I want you to give a lead magnet in your book where people can download the audiobook for free. And I did not like the idea. I thought I spent money to write the book, publish the book, and record it. But I'm telling you that idea was really worth in gold because a lot of people who may not buy the book because they don't read the book, but they love audiobooks for free. 6 hours of audio somebody is listening, there is a higher chance of they connecting with my ideas. There is a higher chance that they get motivated and achieve their goals. And there is also a higher chance that they come to me for coaching or my courses. That's the best advice I've received so far, to offer my audiobook for free. Wherever I go these days, I offer my audiobook for free. People can download. If they like it, they always come to me for more information about my courses or coaching. But the book is enough to spark the inspiration in their lives.
That's very interesting. Like, because a book you actually have to sit down and read, but with an audio, you can basically kind of maybe not get 100% of it, but you would listen to it while walking, driving, whenever. So that's a good idea, actually.
Yes. So somebody gave me this idea. I took it to heart. I made that change. So people, when they go to my book now, even if they go to Amazon and they're browsing my book, in fact, they can download it for free without having to buy the book. So that's fine, because I want the message to go to as many people as I can in this world, because they may not be readers already. Some people actually listen to the audiobook, a few chapters for free, then go buy the book. That's fine with me.
Yeah, that's a good way to do that. Yes. So, what do you think are some best tools, resources, or as we are talking here about your book, also books maybe that you personally recommend to people? Do you think that would be very beneficial to them?
Is this on goal setting? What is the topic for book recommendation?
Well, whatever you want, no problem.
I would say the book recommendation is usually contextual, what they want to do. My personal recommendation is, if you are looking for more happiness or meaning in life, I will recommend a couple of books. One is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's a brilliant book. He's an Austrian who wrote this book in the time of Holocaust through Nazi rule, and he was troubled and tortured by the Nazis. So please read that book for inspiration on human life and meaning. The second book is called The How of Happiness. The How of Happiness by Sonia Liebermusky. I mentioned both of those books in my referral in my book under references. My book is practical on find your goals and achieve it. So if you want inspiration, motivation, start with my book. But if you want to go deeper on man's search for meaning and significance in life or happiness, I recommend those two books, either Meaning by Viktor Frankl or Happiness by Sonia Liebermusky.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you, Pramoda, for being with me on this episode of the Success Secret podcast. I loved how you have the 7-step system and how you distinguish between basically what we could say like external and internal goals that we can set ourselves. This is an important thing that we have to put, which is like because we don't know how can things either we can control or what we can control, and a lot of things get involved in the way. We need to be a little bit patient and take it step by step rather than, like you mentioned, snap it, because if we do that, we might feel burned out and not feel doing that again, because it's a very difficult goal, and we would go one step forward, two steps backwards, so it will never happen, and then we will just sleep on it and never achieve it. So that's very important generally to take it one step at a time, climb the ladder, as they say, one step at a time. So that's very important. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the podcast.
Thank you, Sin. I really enjoyed the conversation.